Here it is for you. You requested it and I am delivering. This is the stats for the housing market in Kalispell and Whitefish, Montana for September 2025. The last video I did talking about July was really popular, and a lot of you were asking me to do a follow-up video. That's what I'm doing here for you today. In today's video, I'm breaking down the latest real estate market data for September 2025 straight from the Montana Regional MLS. And I'm going to share what these numbers really mean for buyers, sellers, investors, and anyone looking into making a move as we head into the colder months or plan their move for 2026. So get ready. This is going to be a good one today. Let's get right into it. Hey everyone, I'm Lindsay Iskerka, a local real estate agent here in Northwest Montana with the Living in Kalispell real estate team, your go-to channel for everything life and real estate across the Flathead Valley. So if you're thinking about buying or selling or investing here, or just keeping an eye on the market, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss any of my updates about real talk about living in Northwest Montana. And before we get into the data, I'm going to have a real talk moment about living in Montana. I'm recording this in the middle of October and there is snow on the ground. We got snow last night. Not a lot. It'll be melted by the end of the day. But let's just say last week I was walking outside with my dog in a tank top and shorts. This morning I was scraping ice off my windshield. That's living in Montana. As we transition from the warmer months to the colder months, the weather gets really erratic here and you just have to go with it. That's real talk. That's living in Montana. So let's get into the housing market data. And by the way, if you do want a copy of the stats I'm going to go over today, just go ahead and comment stats and I'll make sure that you get a copy of what I'm going over today. So let's start with Kalispell, where we've seen the market continue to normalize after several years of major swings. New listings are flat. We have a literal 0% increase or decrease in new listings of single family homes in Kalispell, Montana from September 2024 to September 2025. New listings are at 88. Pending sales, though, I do want to highlight this a little bit. If you recall from my last video for July, we had an over 70% decrease in pending sales from July 2025 compared to July 2024. Look at September. September 2025, we have 13 pending sales in Kalispell, Montana for detached single family homes. That is down by 75.9% from September 2024. What we're really seeing here is a standoff between buyers and sellers. Sellers want the price that they need to be able to move on to their next home, and that's not yet in alignment with what buyers are willing and able to pay with today's interest rates. So we really had this standstill where very few offers are being accepted. Closed sales, however, are right in line with what we saw in September 2024. We had 57 closings in September 2024. We have 60 closings for September 2025. That's just an increase actually of 5.3%. So still slightly more houses sold, meaning title was transferred, keys were handed off in September 2025 versus September 2024. Days on market. So days on market are basically how long the property is active for before an offer is accepted. In September 2025, the average days on market was 104. That is up by 13% from September 2024, where that was 92 days on market. So days on market, homes are taking longer to sell, not by a ton, but they are taking longer. Now here's a stat that I'm not surprised to see. If you saw my last video about the September market, I'm not surprised to see this next stat. The median sales price for September 2025 in Kalispell, Montana is down by 10.6% from September 2024. The median sales price, meaning right there in the middle, is down by double digits. Friends, we are in the middle of a correction, and I think it's actually a very good thing. I'll dive into that a little bit later. We're still just into the data right now. Now, average sales price is up by 5.4% year over year, and that's not surprising. What that means is that the homes that are selling are likely a little bit in the higher range as people who maybe are second-time home buyers, third-time home buyers, not first-time home buyers. So the houses that are actually being sold likely have a little bit of a higher price point. So that is skewing the average just a little bit. But if you take the median price point, which I think is a better indicator of where houses are moving, we have a decrease of 10.6%. Month supply of inventory. So in Kalispell, for single family homes, our month supply of inventory is up by 56%, meaning 56% more houses are available on the market today than they were a year ago, September 2024. Now, there may be a few factors on this. Where I live, for example, the neighborhood that I live in personally, I'm seeing more and more houses pop up on the market. Does that mean that sellers actually think it's a good time to sell? Or maybe they're just thinking, I don't know where prices are going. We want to move. I don't want prices to fall anymore. Let's just go ahead and sell now. And combination of houses taking longer to sell, more new construction homes still in the market, and more sellers potentially putting their houses on the market, maybe fearing where prices are going and they want to sell now versus sell for less later on. Now, that was for single family detached homes in Kalispell, Montana. Let me touch really quickly on townhomes and condos in Kalispell, Montana. This is going to be really surprising. New listings are up by 60% in September 2025 compared to September 2024 for townhomes and condos. That's a massive increase in new listings. Pending sales, however, we had one offer accepted in all of Kalispell, Montana for townhomes and condos. The year prior, we had 10, which is still very low. Kalispell's a pretty big city in Montana standards, right? Attached homes are having a major correction right now. And this is not just in Flathead County. We are seeing this nationwide. The attached condos, because of the HOA, because of the first-time home buyer price point typically, those tend to have a more intense correction when we do have a correction. And we're seeing that very much here with townhomes and condos. And by the way, that is a 90% decrease in pending sales year over year. That is staggering. Closed sales are pretty shocking too. We only had 12 closings for townhomes and condos in Kalispell, Montana in September 2025 compared to 18 closed sales in September 2024. That's a decrease of 33.3% closed transactions for attached townhomes and condos in Kalispell. So with those stats, it's no surprise that the median sales price is also down. Not quite as much as single family homes, but they are still down. The median sales price for townhomes and condos in Kalispell, Montana is $397,500, a decrease of 3.9% from the year before. This is still a pretty significant decrease. It's overshadowed by the decrease of single family homes, but let's not take this lightly that prices are correcting in townhomes and condos. Now, keep in mind, this is data from just a few houses being sold. So you can imagine if more and more of these condos do move into actually getting offers accepted and a deal is put together and they close, we could see the median sales price decrease even more. And I do expect that to happen in the next few months. Inventory available of homes for sale were up by 21%. So 21% more available listings today as compared to September 2024. So right in alignment with the last video that I did, predicting that we would see a decrease in median sales price, a decrease in pending sales continuing. That's definitely what we have been seeing in Kalispell, Montana for September 2025. Okay, now let's shift over to Whitefish, Montana. So this data I'm gonna go over will be a little confusing. I'm gonna do my best to break it down and share why you're seeing the numbers that you're seeing. And again, if you want these stats delivered right to you, just comment the word stats and I'll make sure you get a copy of both of these market updates sent right to you. If we look at new listings, we are actually down by 26%. So 26% fewer listings hit the market in September 2025 compared to September 2024. So that's the first difference in Kalispell versus Whitefish. Pending sales, another same story. Guys, in Whitefish, Montana, three accepted offers. 3 accepted offers for single family homes in Whitefish, Montana for September 2025. That is staggering. That is down by 82.4% from September 2024. Again, we just see this standoff. We see this standoff where sellers want their price, they're adjusting. We're seeing more price reductions and more price corrections than we have seen since pre-pandemic, but that's not enough to get buyers to actually submit the offer that would put a deal together. So we really have this standoff and buyers are holding off, maybe for some better interest rates. Maybe now they're just deciding to wait until 2026. Who knows? But we are seeing very few offers accepted, very few new escrows opening. and that will affect the overall housing market when it comes to the fourth quarter of 2025. We had slightly fewer closed sales in September 2025 compared to September 2024. Not surprising, we had so few offers accepted, right? 25 closed sales in September 2025 compared to 29 in 24. That's a difference of 13.8%. Days on market. This is a pretty shocking stat for Whitefish. Days on market has increased by 42.3% to 148 average days on market before a home is sold. That is much higher than the 104 days on market that we saw in September 2024. So homes are taking longer to sell, another result of that standoff that I'm referring to between buyers and sellers right now. Now, this is going to be confusing, and let me break it down as to why we're seeing this stat that I'm about to go over with you next. Okay, median sales price up by 61.5% from $960,000 to $1.5 million. Now let's think about this logically, okay? Does that mean that the average single family home increased in value by 61%? Of course not. What this means, what this shows is that the people who are buying are not your typical first or second or even maybe third time home buyer, okay? These are people that are paying likely with all cash. They're buying the ranches. They're buying the ski condos. They're buying the ultra luxury homes that are available in Whitefish. This is not your typical buyer and seller. So when you see a stat like this, try to think about how does that happen and think about who is buying these houses right now. It's not someone who sold their little condo to buy the single family home, right? This is the type of buyer buying that ultra luxury Montana ranch dream home. Now let's talk about available inventory. So available inventory of houses for sale in Whitefish, Montana is up dramatically. We are at 194 homes for sale in Little Whitefish, Montana right now, in comparison to 108 homes in September 2024. That's an increase of 79.6%. Basically 80% more available houses for sale. Not surprising, really, since so few homes are going into escrow right now with just 3 accepted offers or pending sales in September 2025. But still something to be said. If you're thinking about listing your home, you got to have a plan. You need to price really strategically. Homes are not moving. We have longer days on market. Very few homes actually getting into contract. So sellers need to be aware of this if they're thinking about making a move. Month supply of inventory, we've passed the 1 year mark. So in Whitefish, Montana, for single family homes, September 2025, we are now at 12.5 months of available inventory in comparison to 7.2 months of available inventory this time last year. What I am seeing quite a bit in Whitefish is that more people are starting to sell their short-term rentals. More people are starting to sell their second homes. And there's a few reasons for this. Montana did just pass a new law for property taxes that if you own a second home or a short-term rental, you're going to be taxed at a higher rate than those who own a primary home or a long-term rental. This is resulting in some investors opting to sell their short-term rental or their vacation home to avoid those higher property taxes. Now, I mentioned this before in another video. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing to put more long-term rentals on the market for the average Montanan and to make sure that people who live and work in Montana can afford their property taxes more comfortably. So that was for single family homes. Let's talk now about townhomes and condos in Whitefish, Montana. New listings for townhomes and condos are down by 23% in comparison to September 2024. Pending sales, we see a low number again at 2 accepted offers. 2 accepted offers for townhomes and condos in all of September 2025 for townhomes and condos in Whitefish, Montana. Closed sales is up by 1 in comparison to last year. We had 14 closings in September 2025 in comparison to September 2024. Days on market, however, is actually lower. Days on market on average is now at 72 days on market for townhomes and condos in comparison to 95, which was just a year ago. Now, again, we see in terms of median sales price and average sales price, we do see some pretty high numbers here. Median sales price is up by 21.9%. Average sales price up by 45.8% from September 2024 to September 2025. Now, keep in mind, once again, this is not your typical first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer. These are people who are buying the ski condos. They're buying the ski in, ski out ones. There's a lot of new development going on Big Mountain and around Whitefish. A lot of nice new condos going up right in the heart of Whitefish. And those are ultra luxury listings. And that's what's moving right now. That's what's being sold right now. Inventory of homes for sale is up by over 54%. So if you are looking for that second home or a vacation home or short-term rental, or just want to downsize, you have a lot more options in Whitefish today. There's 165 available listings in Whitefish in comparison to just 107 just last year. Month supply of inventory for townhomes and condos, we are now at 17.8 months supply of inventory. That's an increase of 50.8%. We have a lot more townhomes and condos for sale, and now we've got a year and a half supply of inventory. And remember, once again, the absorption rate or the month supply of inventory, what that means is that if no other houses were to hit the market, how long would it take for all of these houses to be sold? Guys, this means that if you are looking for a house like this is the time to write an offer that makes sense for you. This is the time to negotiate. This is the time to really lock in a price in coveted Whitefish, Montana, and just hold on to it. This could be a great time to invest in the area. Whitefish has a lot of development going in right now. It is slated to be like the next Vail, Colorado. That is a plan and the long-term strategy for Whitefish, Montana. It's going to keep on growing. Like it or not, it's happening. So if you want to lock in an investment property, this could be a really good time to lock in a home. With townhomes and condos too, keep in mind that the snow removal is taken care of for you. You have usually the HOA covers utilities and internet and cable and landscaping, all these different things. If you want a snowbird, if you want to have a short-term rental, if you want to have a home that you own that you can come and go and visit as you like, a townhome or a condo in Whitefish could be a good option for you. And this is a great time to try and see what you can get for a home like this, where if interest rates are a little bit lower, the economy is a little bit different, it'd probably be selling for a lot more than you would get it for today. Okay, so I threw a lot of numbers at you. Hopefully that made sense. If you're a data nerd like myself, hopefully that was really helpful and it made sense to you. If not, let me break down the key takeaways that you need to know for buyers, sellers, and investors as we head into the colder months of 2025 and what that means for real estate. For buyers, this fall and winter season could be a great window of opportunity. Inventory is at its highest level that it's seen in years, definitely since pre-pandemic, and I don't see us turning into a seller's market anytime soon. Many sellers are more negotiable, especially if they need to close before year end, or if they've already moved and now the house is sitting vacant and they still have that mortgage payment. They want that house sold. So this could be your time to negotiate a deal that works well for you. I'm not the kind of realtor that just sends out lowball offers or encourages people to take advantage of sellers. What I'm saying is let's see if we can find a win-win situation for buyer and seller, put a deal together, transfer keys, and serve people. Interest rates have stabilized, and a lot of builders in the areas like South Kalispell and Columbia Falls are still offering incentives to move inventory before the holidays. They want these homes off their books, and they're offering some pretty amazing incentives to do so. If you've been waiting for the housing market frenzy to cool, this could be your time. I don't know how much further down prices are gonna go. They could keep continuing going down. However, if we do have lower interest rates, if interest rates are cut more times by the end of 2025 and in 2026, if we have an interest rate with a 5 in front of it, that could move more buyers to make moves. If more buyers do enter, then the really nice priced, beautiful houses will move quickly. You could face another offer and be in a competitive situation. So if you want to not compete with any other buyers, if you want to put a deal together with the seller, this could be your window of opportunity. If you've been waiting for the housing market to cool, it has cooled. Get in. There's never going to be a perfect time to buy. It's when does it make the most sense for you? What are the current market conditions? And what are the pros and cons of this market right now? How can you use it to your advantage as a buyer? If you want to know more about that or strategize, reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you and help you put your game plan together if making a move in the next 6 months or 9 months makes sense and where the window of opportunity could be for you. For sellers, you'll need to price your house strategically and present it beautifully. You need to make your house wow buyers. There's a lot of competition around and houses just like yours in the market. Your realtor needs to not skimp on professional photography. They need to make sure they highlight your house's absolute best potential. First impressions are so important when it comes to selling your house, no matter what the market's doing. If you have a realtor that's a discount realtor and they're okay with just some iPhone photos and just putting the house on the market and praying that it sells, that's not enough. You're going to leave a lot of money on the table when there's already a lot of other houses that buyers can choose from. You need to wow your buyers and have a realistic price point from the get-go. I wouldn't say this is the time to list your house at a higher price with room to negotiate down. That's not working. Your house will sit stale on the market. You have one chance to make a good first impression on buyers when they first see your house hit the market. You want them to see your house on the market and immediately think, wow, that's a great deal. That's a beautiful house. We need to go see that house. Will it result in an offer really quickly? Maybe, maybe not. But you're at least giving yourself the best likelihood of getting a good offer soon and quickly and actually moving the house versus having it sit on the market for over 100 days with 8 price reductions and still no activity and you feeling frustrated with the process. For investors, this could be a great time to add to your buy and hold portfolio. I wouldn't suggest necessarily looking for flip opportunities because we have no idea how long this correction is going to last. So your numbers at acquisition really need to reflect an unknown market in the next 6 to 9 months. Will prices stay where they're at? Will they go down lower? Will they increase? We really don't know. So buying a flip right now is pretty risky. Buying a buy and hold property as a long-term rental or even a short-term rental could be a really good option right now. One of my favorite strategies that I've implemented with my husband as we've gone through our real estate journey the last 10 years is what's called a live-in flip. A live-in flip is when you are the primary home buyer and you buy a house that does need some renovations and needs some upgrades, but you are living there. You don't have the plan to fix up and resell for a profit in the next 6 months or 9 months. You live in it. You renovate every inch of it, you make it beautiful, you sit on it, you force equity into your property. Then by holding onto it for long enough, you will have equity. And then you can potentially sell it if you want to, or do a cash out refinance, pay yourself back. Live-in flips are a fantastic strategy. If you're interested in that strategy, reach out to me. I'd love to walk you through it, the pros and cons, help you decide if that's something that you should consider if you want to make a move in Northwest Montana. So looking ahead into the fourth quarter of 2025, what can we expect? Well, as we move into the colder months, the market is going to slow down, but I still see kind of a standstill right here. I don't think the prices are going to crash. I don't think we're going to see a drastic price decrease over the next few months. I think they're going to kind of hold steady. They may dip slightly, but we won't see a collapse of value or a crash of any sort. I think more sellers will opt to pull their house off the market and try again in spring of next year. So plan to see perhaps some different numbers for available inventory as we head into the colder months. So what about 2026? What's going to happen? Are prices going to keep on falling? Are they going to stay the same? Or interest rates going to drop enough to perhaps maybe even make prices go up a little bit? I don't know. Like I said, I don't think that we're going to be in a seller's market anytime soon. I think all of 2026 will remain a buyer's market. It may be a little more balanced, or maybe we'll kind of hit towards a lower end of the buyer's market, but we're still going to be a buyer's market with more available houses than there are buyers. Even if interest rates do drop, I think we have too much inventory right now in the market to really get it all absorbed in order to become a seller's market once again. I could be wrong. That's what I'm projecting right now. As far as actual data for 2026, I don't have that yet. If you do want me to do a video on 2026 housing market predictions, when I do have the data, drop a comment below, let me know what you want to see, and I'll make it happen for you guys. So remember, if you want a copy of the September 2025 stats for Kalispell and Whitefish, comment stats below, and I'll send these directly to your inbox. And if you're thinking about making a move in the next 6 months or 9 months or even 12 months, whether it's buying, selling, or relocating to Northwest Montana, I'd love to be your resource. As you can see, I keep it real and data-driven, and I'd love to help you strategize on maximizing your move here. You can find all my contact information in the description below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my weekly updates about real talk about living in Northwest Montana. And make sure to drop a comment below if you want me to continue to do these market updates for you, and if you want me to do a housing market 2026 predictions in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.